I charged a mid-sized tech firm $4,200 last month to tell them exactly which of their senior developers were about to quit. I didn't interview a single person, I didn't sit in their office for a week, and I didn't use any of those generic employee engagement apps that everyone ignores. I used a custom AI workflow to analyze 3 years of anonymous sentiment data, the kind of data every company has but no one actually reads. While everyone else is using AI to write mediocre blog posts for $50, I'm using it to solve a $1 million problem: employee turnover. High turnover is currently costing American businesses over $1 trillion a year. When a senior engineer or a top-tier sales rep walks out the door, it costs the company 1.5 to 2 times that person's annual salary to replace them. HR departments are drowning in data, exit interviews, annual reviews, anonymous Slack feedback, and Glassdoor ratings, but they are starving for actual insights. They are still trying to solve burnout with Wellness Wednesdays and free pizza, which is like putting a band-aid on a broken leg. That is exactly why this AI Culture Audit is the most underrated high-ticket service you can offer right now. It is a direct injection of clarity into a CEO's biggest headache. Most people approach AI services completely wrong. They try to sell AI implementation or prompt engineering. Nobody wants to buy a prompt. They want to buy the solution to a bleeding wound. The mistake I see every beginner making is trying to sell to small businesses that don't have enough data to analyze or the budget to care. If you try to sell a culture audit to a 5-person landscaping company, you're going to get laughed at. You need to target the missing middle, companies with 50 to 250 employees. These companies are large enough to have a toxic culture brewing in silence, but small enough that they don't have a dedicated $200,000 a year data scientist in their HR department. They have the data, they have the pain, and they have the $5,000 budget to make it go away. Here is the actual method I use, step by step. Step 1 is the data extraction and anonymization. You aren't asking for passwords or private emails. You are asking the head of people or the COO for exported, anonymous data from their internal pulse surveys, Glassdoor reviews, and historical exit interview transcripts. If they use a tool like CultureAmp or 15.5, they can export this into a CSV in about 30 seconds. Your first job is to ensure that all names and identifying markers are scrubbed. This is a massive selling point. You are providing an objective, third-party look at the company without the bias of knowing who said what. Step 2 is the processing. Most people would just dump 2,000 rows of survey data into ChatGPT and ask, "What's wrong here?" This is a massive mistake. The AI will hallucinate, it will miss the nuance, and it will give you generic advice like, improve communication. Instead, you need to use a chain of density approach. I use Claude 3.5 Sonnet for this because its reasoning capabilities for linguistic nuance are far superior to GPT-4o right now. You process the data in batches, asking the AI to identify friction points and silent killers. Silent killers are things like unclear promotion paths or middle management bottlenecks that don't show up as anger, but as apathy. Step 3 is the thematic clustering. You tell the AI to categorize every piece of feedback into a matrix. I use 4 quadrants: compensation, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. This is based on the Dan Pink framework of motivation. You have the AI look for linguistic patterns. For example, if the word process appears 40% more frequently in negative reviews than positive ones, you've identified a bureaucratic bottleneck. This isn't just, people are unhappy, it's, your approval process for project expenses is causing high performers to feel micromanaged. That is a specific insight a CEO will pay for. Step 4 is the predictive churn mapping. This is where you make the big money. You ask the AI to compare the sentiment of people who have already left, from exit interviews, against the sentiment of current employees. The AI can identify pre-exit linguistic markers. Maybe people who quit always start complaining about lack of vision exactly 6 months before they hand in their notice. If you find a segment of current employees using those same markers, you can tell the CEO, you have a 70% chance of losing your marketing team in the next quarter. That insight alone is worth 10 times what you're charging. Step 5 is the delivery. Do not just send a PDF with a bunch of text. You provide a culture health dashboard. I use a simple Notion template or a Loom video walkthrough. You show them the pizza party index, which is my term for how much their current solutions are failing, and then you give them 3 high-impact interventions. These are specific, actionable steps based on the AI's analysis. For the tech firm I mentioned earlier, the intervention was as simple as changing their Wednesday meeting structure. That's it. They didn't need a retreat, they needed shorter meetings. The proof is in the results. In that $4,200 audit, I identified that the engineering team felt their technical debt was being ignored by the product owners. The engineers weren't mad about their pay, they were mad that they were being forced to build on top of trash code. The company adjusted their roadmap to include 1 cleanup week per month, and their developer retention stabilized immediately. I spent maybe 4 hours of actual work on this. The rest was just the AI doing the heavy lifting of reading thousands of lines of text. If you want to start this today, don't go out and build a website. Nobody cares about your website. Go to LinkedIn and search for Head of People, Chief People Officer, or COO at companies with 100 to 200 employees. Look for companies that have a 3.0 or lower rating on Glassdoor. That is your in. Your outreach shouldn't be, I offer AI services. It should be, I noticed your Glassdoor rating has dipped recently. I specialize in using AI to analyze internal sentiment data to identify exactly why your top talent is leaving before they actually quit. I'd like to run a mini audit on your public data to show you what I mean. When they say yes, you run their Glassdoor reviews through the workflow I just described. Give them 3 insights for free. One of those insights will hit a nerve because it will be something they've suspected but couldn't prove. Once you've hit that nerve, the $4,000 or $5,000 audit is an easy sell. I'm telling you, the AI agency space is getting crowded with people selling content automation and chatbot builders. It's a race to the bottom on price. But nobody is doing deep dive organizational health audits. It requires a bit more thinking, and it requires you to actually understand a business problem, but that's why it pays. You aren't a prompt engineer here, you are a retention consultant, powered by AI. Stop looking for the next one-click wealth tool. They don't exist. The money is in the boring stuff. It's in the messy data that HR directors are too scared to touch. It's in the spreadsheets that have been sitting in a to-do folder for 6 months. Use the tools to do the work that humans hate, and you can charge human expert prices for it. If you want the specific, thematic clustering prompt I use to stop Claude from giving me generic fluff, join the newsletter. I don't post the high-level workflows here because they get saturated too fast. Go to the link in the description, get the prompt, and go find a company that's tired of losing their best people. Stop selling AI and start selling retention. That's where the actual income is in 2025. See you in the next one.